All right, today we're jumping in the time machine and heading back to the 1920s. We're going to talk about a pretty radical idea that completely changed how movies are made. A group of French filmmakers had this wild thought. What if a camera could do more than just record a story? What if you could record a feeling? So think about it for a second. How do you actually film a memory, or a dream, or that sudden, heart-pounding feeling of panic? It's a huge challenge, right? Back in the day, a camera could easily show you what a character was doing, but how could it possibly show you what they were thinking? How do you get something like grief or pure joy that's happening inside someone's head and put it on screen for everyone to see? Well, before these filmmakers came along, most movies were basically just recorded plays. Seriously, they called it the theatrical prison for a reason. The camera was just stuck there, in one spot, like a spectator in the front row watching actors do their thing. It could capture all the external action, sure, but that rich, complex, messy inner world of the characters? Nope, that was totally off limits. And this really gets to the heart of it. It's a tale of two completely different kinds of cinema. You had the old theatrical style, which was totally objective. It just showed you an event from the outside, like a fly on the wall. But these new impressionist filmmakers, they wanted to create something subjective. They wanted to literally pull you, the audience, right inside a character's mind so you could feel exactly what they were feeling. So, to actually pull this off, they had to basically invent an entirely new visual language from scratch. I mean, they needed a way to translate thoughts, emotions, and all these internal sensations into light and shadow on film. They literally had to teach the camera how to stop being a passive observer and start feeling. And their big guiding philosophy was this really cool concept they called photogeny. Now, this wasn't just about making things look pretty. It was this deep belief that the camera, with its unique lens, could reveal a kind of hidden poetic truth in people and objects, an inner essence that our naked eye just misses. I mean, their goal was nothing short of filming the internal landscape of the human soul itself. Wild, right? Okay, so that's the big idea. But how did they actually do it? How do you film a soul? Well, they developed this incredible toolkit of new techniques, all designed specifically to express what's going on inside a character's head. They were building this new visual language, one piece at a time. And we can really break their whole revolution down into three key innovations. It's pretty straightforward. First, they liberated the camera. They set it free. Second, they started using optical effects as a window directly into the mind. And third, they edited their films to match a character's emotional heartbeat. Let's dig into each one. First up, the liberated camera. I mean this literally. Directors like the absolute legend Abel Gance basically just broke the camera off its tripod. For his 1927 masterpiece Napoleon, he was mounting cameras on galloping horses, on sleds. He even put one on a giant pendulum. And look, the goal here wasn't just to look cool. It was to make the audience feel the physical energy, the pure chaos of that moment, right in their bones. But the real game changer, the thing that just blew everything wide open, was how they used camera effects. These weren't just gimmicks anymore. They became direct visual metaphors for thought and emotion. They turned the lens from just a piece of glass into an instrument for psychological exploration. This is where we really start to see inside a character's head. And the techniques they used were so direct, so clever. For example, if a character was drunk, the image would go all soft and blurry. Makes sense, right? If they were haunted by a memory, you might see an image of a face superimposed, like a ghost, over the main scene. In a film called El Dorado, the director Marcel Leherbier actually used distorted lenses to give you this warped, twisted view of the world, visually showing the character's crushing despair. And finally, we've got rhythm. The directors were really inspired by music, and they had this idea that the pace of the editing, how long each shot lasts, should match the emotional tempo of the scene. It created this kind of visual music where the cut, the edit itself, becomes the beat of the character's own heart. So in moments of real panic or excitement, the cuts would get faster and faster, building this frantic, almost unbearable tension, literally mimicking a racing pulse. If you watch a film like Jean Epstein's The Fall of the House of Usher, this rapid-fire editing creates this incredible sense of psychological dread. It puts you right there in that state of panic with them. So let's just put it all together. The crucial thing to remember is this direct link. Every single technique had a very specific emotional job to do. The liberated camera in Napoleon, that was all about creating chaotic energy. The soft focus and distortion in El Dorado, that was designed to make you feel inner despair. And that super-fast rhythmic editing in the fall of the House of Usher, pure panic and tension. It was an incredibly precise and powerful emotional toolkit. Now, you'd think a movement this revolutionary would last forever, right? But actually, this whole period was incredibly intense, but also surprisingly short. So what happened? And maybe more importantly, how is its influence still with us nearly 100 years later? I mean, look at this timeline. The movement basically burned white hot for just about a decade. It all kicks off in the early 1920s. It hits its absolute peak around 1927 with massive films like Napoleon, and then by about 1929, it starts to fade away. And the reason why is pretty surprising. It was another technological revolution that got in the way. What was it? The arrival of sound. Yep, synchronized sound. Now, early sound recording gear was gigantic, it was loud, it was clunky, and it was super restrictive. To record dialogue, cameras had to be locked away inside these huge soundproof boxes. So that fluid, free-roaming, expressive camera style of the Impressionists, it was suddenly and literally brought to a dead stop. But its spirit never died, not even close. You could say the Impressionists literally wrote the playbook for subjective filmmaking. Think about it. Every time you see a shaky, handheld camera in an action movie to make you feel the chaos, or a bizarre, surreal dream sequence in a modern psychological thriller, you are seeing the direct echo of what these French filmmakers were doing all the way back in the 1920s. And that really leaves us with the movement's most powerful, most profound legacy. What the French Impressionists taught every filmmaker who came after them was this. A movie doesn't just have to be a window that we look through to watch a story from a distance. No. It can also be a mirror that reflects the deepest, messiest, most complex parts of the human experience right back at us.